Hi students, welcome to this video on simple distillation for 1E Science. You should be doing this for your HBL on the 8th of April at 8 AM. So for this video, we'll be talking about the process of simple distillation, including the types of mixtures that simple distillation can be used to separate, the principle of simple distillation, the apparatus that we need, as well as some things that you need to take note when you are doing simple distillation. Okay, so firstly, what type of mixture is simple distillation used to separate? Now, similarly to evaporation and crystallization, simple distillation is used to separate a soluble solid from a liquid or a solution. So for example, simple distillation allows me to obtain both salt and water from seawater. However, the difference here is that for evaporation and crystallization, I am not able to obtain water. The water will just evaporate away into the atmosphere. But with simple distillation, I'm able to obtain both the salt and the water. And therefore, it enables the solvent to be collected as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the principle of separation by simple distillation. Remember I said this before, when we ask for principle of separation, we are actually looking at how it works. So first, the mixture, in this case seawater, the mixture is heated in a distillation flask where the water will boil. It undergoes boiling. Next, after water boils, it gets converted to water vapor. The water vapor rises to the top of the setup and comes into contact with the condenser where the temperature is lower. Then it undergoes condensation and drips into the receiving flask where it is collected as distillate. Now, don't worry if you don't understand. I will explain with reference to a diagram and you'll be much clearer. Okay, so let's look at the setup for distillation and explain the principle of distillation again. The solid liquid mixture, in this case we are using salt water as an example, it gets heated. Then as it gets heated, the water vapor, it will boil, then the water vapor will rise. Then it rises to the top and it comes into contact with this piece of apparatus known as a condenser. As the name suggests, the water vapor will condense on the condenser and it drips down. It is collected in the receiving flask as distillate. Okay, so to summarize this part, the two processes that occur in simple distillation are boiling. The two processes that occur in simple distillation are boiling and condensation. Okay, now we are going to move on to the third part of this video, which is on the function of various apparatus in simple distillation. Now for this part, I'm going to transit between this table here, this table, and the diagram on top, so please follow me. Now the first thing that we need to add to the distilling flask is what we call boiling chips, which are essentially porcelain chips. Now the function of boiling chips is that they enable smooth boiling. Okay, so in the diagram here, you can see that there are some solids at the bottom. They look like rocks. These are actually the boiling chips. And we put them in to ensure smooth boiling. Now, if you don't put in the boiling chips, it might boil very vigorously and then it will be very dangerous for the person who's operating the simple distillation. Okay, so before we move on, can you please correct this typo error? I typed enable, but it should be ensure smooth boiling. So to repeat again, the boiling chips or the porcelain chips enable smooth boiling. Okay, next, you will notice in the setup that there is a thermometer. The thermometer is here. Okay, now the function of the thermometer is that it enables us to measure the temperature of the vapor. So when it enables us to measure the temperature of the vapor, you can determine the identity of the vapor. So for example, if the temperature of the vapor that you measure is 100 degrees Celsius, then you can be quite sure that it is water that you are collecting as distillate. Okay, so to repeat myself, thermometer, it enables us to measure the temperature of the vapor so that we can check its identity. Okay, so that is the function of the thermometer in simple distillation. Okay, finally, the last piece of equipment that we are going to move on to is something quite new to you all. It's known as the condenser. The condenser looks like something like this. You will see that there are two inlets for water to go in and go out. Now, why is water going in this direction? We'll talk about it a bit later. But for now, what you need to know is that the function of the condenser, as the name suggests, is that it enables the hot vapor to condense into liquid, and when it condenses into liquid, it will drip down like this, and it will be collected as distillate. Okay? And because of this, it is important that we pass cold water into the condenser and not hot water, so that the temperature difference will enable the vapor to condense on the condenser and drip down and be collected as distillate. Okay, the last part is things that we must take note of when setting up for simple distillation. The first thing is that the thermometer should be placed at the mouth of the condenser. Now, there are some people, when setting up for distillation, they will put the thermometer here or even here, just above the meniscus of the mixture, and that is wrong. Now, the thermometer should be placed at the mouth of the condenser because, okay, so the thermometer must be placed at the mouth of the condenser to enable us to accurately measure the temperature of the vapor. In other words, it means that if, for example, I put the thermometer bulb, the bulb is this thin thing here. If I put the bulb too close to the meniscus or even higher up, the temperature that I measure may not be the temperature, the boiling point of the vapor that I am measuring. Okay? Okay, again, can you please add this word, bulb? So the thermometer bulb should be placed at the mouth of the condenser to enable us to accurately measure the temperature of the vapor. Okay, finally, the direction of the water flow in the condenser should be in from the bottom and out from the top, so that the condenser is always filled with water. Okay, you may not know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to explain a bit further. Now, if the direction of water flow is reversed, meaning that water comes in from the top and goes out from the bottom, what will happen is that you will see water only occupies the bottom part of the condenser. And if that's the case, the top part of your condenser will not be cool enough for condensation to occur. And therefore, it is very important to make sure that water goes in like this and goes out like this. When this happens, the entire condenser will be filled with water, which will enable condensation to occur. Okay, so to summarize, for distillation, what you need to know is firstly, the type of mixture that simple distillation is used to separate, which is the separation of a soluble solid from a liquid or a solution. Next, the principle of separation via simple distillation. You should be able to tell me that boiling and condensation take place in simple distillation. Thirdly, you should be able to tell me the functions of various apparatus in simple distillation. And lastly, the things that we should take note of when setting up for simple distillation, which includes the position of the thermometer bulb as well as the direction of water flow. With that, I conclude my video. Thank you.